This is my 1974 Honda CB450. This is a gorgeous bike, and this is something I picked up a few months ago. If you guys recall, I had put up a video where I bought 8 different motorcycles that were going to scrap. Well, 2 of those, a CB450 and a CM450, I actually did a little bit of horse trading with and did a trade plus cash for this beautiful thing right here. Now, unlike most of my bikes, this one actually had a title, it wasn't locked up, and it even had a key for it. Now, for my best estimates, I figured this thing's been sitting for about 18 years. So in this video, we're gonna be making it run. Now, this is the part of the video where I'd probably show some footage of bringing it up from where it's been sitting for a few months, putting it on the table, and then starting to do the diagnosis process to make this thing run. But unfortunately, I'm a freaking idiot, and I actually lost all of that footage. So yeah, I got those clips, I went through all of those steps, and this thing came back to life with relative ease, actually. There is a little bit of a story to tell with that, but I do apologize as I lost most of the footage up until the point where we changed the oil in this thing, so you will see that. Now again, for my best guesses, this thing sat for about 18 years. Overall, the bike was very, very complete. You can see that it's missing the fork boots on it, and beyond that, a little bit rough around the edges. It just has the normal patina on some things. The gauges are dry cracked. It has a couple changes like these grips here. It has some Sportster mufflers on it, but beyond that, there really aren't any changes or any modifications or even any poor workmanship on this thing, which is awesome. So under the seat, the wiring is in great shape, and I thought this one was gonna come back to life pretty easy, and it actually did. So the first step I took with this thing was actually getting it on the lift and going ahead, pulling the plugs, sticking my bore scope in there, and both of the cylinders looked great. There was really no corrosion at all. And I could see cross-hatching in the cylinders, so that was always a good sign. Again, this thing rolls over just fine. I went ahead and pulled the points cover on this thing to next inspect the ignition, and the points system was very clean. I went ahead and just drew a file through them just like I normally do, and overall they looked like they were in great shape. The plug caps themselves, though, they were barely holding on, and they're still barely holding on to any kind of thread. I might have to clip those back just a little bit, but there's not a lot of room to play with there, so we'll see how that goes. But to keep the talking short, I went ahead and put a jump battery on this bike just to kind of test the electrical, and sure enough, everything on here worked. Turn signals, headlight, high, low, the brake light, the horn, the electric start even, everything seemed to work. So we quickly rolled this thing over. Sure enough, it's got spark, just simply awesome. So at this point, we know that we have a full working electrical system. We know that we have mechanically all of the components that we need for it to run. So the next step was for me to inspect the carburetors. Now, I went ahead and pulled the side covers off this thing. I wanted to inspect the air filters. Normally, what I find is there's a bunch of junk in the air filter housings from rodents and things like that, but in this case, they were completely clean. So I was able to pull those things off and get a look at the carburetors themselves. Now, these things have CV carbs, and there is a diaphragm and a slide in there, so I wanted to make sure those things weren't seized up. Now, to my surprise, once I actually inspected the inside of the carburetors, both slides worked great, and they felt like they had the perfect amount of drag for that vacuum kind of actuation there. So that's even more hopeful. Now, having it out back, went ahead and threw a battery in it, and I had my starting fluid, put a few squirts in here, and this thing actually lit off pretty easy. It took a few kicks. The electric start was actually not really powerful enough. I do feel like that motor needs to be rebuilt, but this thing fired up with really no hassle. It's like it ran yesterday. And so after that, I wanted to make sure that we can get this thing running on its own fuel system, or at least on fuel with my auxiliary tank. So to my surprise, again, this is just completely unlike anything I've had. I pulled the bowls off of the carburetors, and here's what I found. So I just popped the bowl off. Look at that. The needle moves, completely clean.
Looks good.
Amazing. Just pop the other side off. Every bit as good. I'm not even going to clean the carbs. Again, the needle moves, again, the float moves. The needle moves. I think we're good to go. So yeah, I have never had one like this. Now again, per what I'm seeing on the bike with the registration stickers, the date codes on the tires, this thing at least last ran or was last registered in 2006. So there is potential it has sat since then. I don't know how many years it ran after that, but we'll really never know. It seems like it ran yesterday though, because everything is in such great shape. We even went to inspect the master cylinder. When I pulled the cap off of that, thinking it was just going to be dust like all the rest of them, that thing actually had some fluid in it. Now it was brown fluid, but it was still very clean. So all we did was just take the lines off, we blew through them. I flushed the caliper out on that thing and then topped off the fluid, bled it, and everything works perfect, just unbelievably. So this thing definitely wanted to come back to life. Now getting back to making it run, I have my auxiliary tank, I hooked it up, and we had this thing running flawlessly on fuel alone without starting fluid. We heat cycled it a couple times, and then you know what? It's time to ride this thing. So that's where we're gonna pick up the video, is where we do an oil change on this thing, and we'll take it from there. But I do apologize for losing that footage. It all got corrupted during transfer and stuff. I've tried many services to get it back, and it's just heartbreaking that it's all gone because it was such awesome footage. So yeah, I do apologize, and in the next video, we'll make it up to you.
Always happens. Somehow, there's always a mess. Is it just me? It's probably just me.
So the oil that came out of this thing seemingly had, you guess, probably a quart of fuel in it. Yeah. So not surprising. So good thing we didn't run it long on the fuel. That of course dilutes it and causes further problems. So some fresh Rotella, and this thing is good as new. And realistically, this thing is in fantastic shape. So it's already seeming like new. Yep, that's that 450 life.
This thing is zippy, dude.
Yeah, they're like way faster than a 350. Like noticeably.
Yeah.
And this is just open, no air filters on a CV carb. Like it's not gonna run right now.
I'm a fan. I quite like this thing.
Gotta come up with a name for this thing. It's too good. All right, got the chopper out, and this thing, let's do a little secondary maiden voyage. Threw some unipods on it. Oh yeah. Ah. Bam. This thing is so good. Haven't even cleaned the carbs on it. I'm gonna keep going back to that because that's amazing. Simply bled the front brakes. It doesn't make sense, guys. Look at it. If you guys haven't seen any of the videos on that bike, you definitely have to go check it out. Sorry about this road. It's safe. Seriously, if I'd been working on this bike, like drivability wise, for a couple days and it ran like this, I'd be pretty happy. Got a little lean pop to it, you know. This thing's just good, man. She's untuned. We barely have spark right now. That's impressive. All right. Switch.
Okay.
Yeah. Look at that thing.
Alright, so note the current dirty condition. Hopefully here in a little while this thing will be sparkling like new. I don't think it will take much. bad, if I do say so myself. They're all dolled up now. Chrome could do with a little bit more polishing, but compared to how it was, I think it looks pretty presentable. Especially the front. This thing was nasty. Basically a brand new bike, in my opinion.
Now, after cleaning the fuel tank out, I went ahead and turned my attention to rebuilding the factory petcock. And while doing that, I had to replace the brass standoff. So I actually used some 3/16 copper brake line, and that worked perfect. So we have full on and reserve functionality. After that, I needed to replace the rear tank rubber. The original had just been torn like they all are, and the replacement actually called for a specific part number, but it didn't quite fit the original mounting bolts, so I did have to modify it slightly. Slightly different than a 750. Well, that is strange. It says this is the same part. Don't like it. This material here is called Delrin. It's like a nylon and it's really fun to work with, especially getting it in the lathe, which you see here. And this stuff I'm actually using to make some standoffs for these side covers. Because we're actually using pod filters temporarily, I need to take up the space that the original filters would occupy. So this is just a fun little simple spacer I can make, and I'll show you guys how it goes together here in just a moment. warm the battery when you go in here. Little CP right there. Put some safety wire on that and we'll probably be good. Now obviously there's a couple changes on this bike. We're gonna go ahead and put some different grips on it because I have a hatred for these foam Kiriakin things. But beyond that, we have some Sportster mufflers. Those, they look all right. There is a little bit of a leak and we do have better options out there. So I'm thinking about putting maybe some stainless Kona Engineering mufflers on there just to kind of accent the colors. And that kind of brings me to this seat. Now, we have options here and I want to know what you guys think and what you guys would suggest. I can always go and find a replacement seat cover and it would look just fine. It would be factory, it'd be great. But I'm also tempted to actually take the stock pan and have it custom upholstered, and that way we could do maybe different color accents and stitching patterns and things like that. Not go too crazy, but just pay homage to the factory looks of the bike. And I think that would be cool. So let me know what you guys think, if you think I should just keep it original or if you think I should go a little bit custom on the seat. So I'll look to see what you guys have to say. All right, we are cruising the 450 under its own fuel. Actually, you know what? Let's just use the electric start. I'm definitely excited to rebuild these front forks, get new seals in them, and actually have some fluid. Because right now there is no dampening. guys enjoyed this one. I'm sorry it was a little bit unorthodox with that missing footage and stuff like that, but I promise I'll be working to do better on that front. So anyway, let me know what you guys think about the seat. I'll be curious to hear your opinion on that. And then keep an eye out for the next video on this thing as we put some more parts on it and take it up to the next level, make it really nice and really rideable. So anyway, check some other videos out on the channel, subscribe if you haven't already, and hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.